Picture the scene. You run a business, you're running Google Ads, and you can see that you're getting some clicks for your competitors. Should you bid on those competitors? That's what we're going to talk about in today's T Talk. Let's get into it. Right, Darren, here we are back on the T Talk hot seats.
Yep.
You've got your coffee?
I've bridged the gap.
This is becoming a recurring theme now.
I've bridged the gap.
What have you got?
A chai latte.
A chai latte? Look
Chai
at you.
obviously meaning tea.
Yes.
Latte being coffee.
There you go. So
but honestly, I don't know what it actually is. Is it tea? Is it coffee?
Whereas, what have you done here? What have I got?
I made your tea.
Standard. Yorkshire?
Yeah.
See? Keep it simple, lovely, nice and consistent.
I could have done you dirty.
Mess about.
I could have done you like a cookie dough latte.
What is this? What is this?
Yeah.
No, thank you. Right, so today we're going to talk about bidding on competitors.
Yes.
Which is a conversation, this mirrors, as is often the case, the conversations we're having with our clients day to day.
Yeah.
And this has come about because a client has very recently asked exactly this question. They phoned up and they said, Aaron, should we bid on competitors? We can see that some of the people that are searching for our products or services are bidding on our competitors. So our competitors are coming up.
Sure.
So they're competitors' names. So some people are searching and they're looking for the product or service, but they're also, some of them are coupling that with the competitor's name. And they said, should we be bidding on?
So they're bidding on their competitor's name?
So they're not bidding on them, but the way in which they're running search ads. So I should preface this and say, this client is running Google Ads. They're running search ads, right? So the ads that come from the search results, and they're seeing that in their search terms report that some of their potential customers are searching for their product, the products and services that they sell, and some of them are putting the brand name alongside that.
Of their competitor.
Of their competitors,
right.
yeah, their competitor's brand name, right?
I see.
So not everyone does it, but most, if you're a small business, if you're running search ads on Google, you're very likely, unless you've actively excluded them, you're very likely going to see people are looking for, think about when you're searching for a product, often you will look for a specific brand, a specific business or a type.
I was in Lidl just last night, and I was looking at Breville.
Name check.
Breville.
Right.
Have you ever heard of Breville as a brand?
What are these?
They do kitchen appliances.
Okay, right.
I was looking for one of those like panini presses, but it's flat.
Yeah.
Breville. Couldn't find one.
We've got one in the kitchen.
No, but it's not flat. It's got ridges.
Yeah, the one we've got has.
Yeah,
you want a flat
I
one?
want a flat one.
Why do you want a flat one?
Because you can do so much more with it.
What?
We've gone off topic.
Like what? We'll be back in a minute, yeah? Entertain yourselves.
Do a clockwise.
Like what?
You can do like burgers on it.
But why can't you do it with a...
Because then it's ridged.
Yeah, but that'd be better.
No,
because then all the juices and the fat drips out. That's a good thing.
Well, I feel like you can do a bit more with a flat one.
Anyway, this is a very separate conversation. Anyway, yeah, exactly.
Note the time. We'll clock.
Yeah, exactly. What are we planning to talk about? Right. Okay. Bidding on competitors. So. Basically, so this client asked a question, and I then ended up recording them a video to explain, because it's not a black and white answer. I can't just say yes, you should bid on competitors, or no, you can't. There's as ever, it depends. It depends, but there are some pros and cons for doing it. And I thought in this T Talk we'd just share a perspective, having worked with lots of brands, and in the past we have bid on some competitors. Then there are cases where we've got absolutely do not do that, and everything in between. So. I'll run you through some pros and cons, and you can chip in with any questions or thoughts.
Yeah, because I, to be honest, I've never thought that anyone would do it.
Oh god, yeah, it happens a lot.
It's an interesting idea.
For some businesses, some sectors, it's a very well. I'll come on to it because there is some
feeling in a way.
Well, yeah, but people do. There are some examples where it's worked really well. You can get yourself into hot water if you do it. Absolutely.
Wow, okay.
And there's. I'll give you. So I just want to give you a little. I've been doing this for a long. Been doing this. It is. So watch with caution. This needs a little sort of like the viewer discretion advisory is advised. Yeah. So right, I'll give you some. So let's start with a positive. Let's start with some pros. Right. Okay. So some pros of bidding on your competitors. If you've got a competitor that is much more visible, prominent, bigger than you, and you know they're the Goliath and you're the David type thing, and you think, oh, they get loads of search, whatever the sector, whatever the business, whether it's product or service. Then one of the pros is if you say, do you know what? Yeah, I'm going to bid on my competitors, or at least I'm going to allow my ads to be shown for competitors. I'm not going to actively exclude them.
Sure.
Then one of the potential pros is you're going to get increased visibility. You're going to get increased clicks because people are actively looking for your competitors, and you say, well, we're not that company, whoever that is, but we do the same thing. We we provide the same product. We do the same thing, you know, and so therefore, you know, and so I'll give you an example. So lots of small businesses, when they operate in a set area, set radius, and you're often in Google in the search results, you'll be going up against the nationals. So you'll be going up the big nationals. So often for those, you'll go, well, the big nationals get tons of search. Therefore, you know, if we don't mind gobbling up a little bit of that, because then we're not a national, we're a local business, and they get loads. So we want to kind of piggyback on the visibility they have. So in those scenarios, it can work fairly well.
So if I was making like a sort of theme park place, with a character called Ricky Rat,
right? Okay.
I might want to have bid on Disney.
I mean. Yeah, I mean that's a little bit loose, but I would say in that scenario, no, because people know they want Disney. It's more. I'll try and give you a slightly better example. That was struggling. Right, let me give you. So if you sold, let me think about it. So if you, I don't know, if you sold a product like if you're a business that sold kitchens, bathrooms, as an example, right? Sure. So you're a local business. You sell kitchens, bathrooms, stuff like that, right? Some of the people you will probably find in your search terms report or in your data, potentially, there might be people that are looking for Wix, IKEA, Homebase, right? Nationals. So you wouldn't probably proactively bid on those, because if someone's looking for IKEA or Wix or Homebase, you know, the intent's wrong. But there is an argument to then say, but do you want to proactively exclude those folks because they might be looking for a Wix or a Homebase or a this, that and the other, but actually if they're in your target area, hypothetically, you might say, well, they just probably don't know that we exist and we're only 10 minutes around the corner. Therefore, if they're looking for kitchens or for bathrooms or for this or for that, and they might be looking for a national, but they don't realise that, hey, we're a local mum and pup business around the corner, they might want to come to us. So you wouldn't actively bid on those terms, but equally you wouldn't exclude them.
Right.
So I'll give you an example.
It does.
Right. So using that scenario, that is a reason for why not bidding on your competitors, but not excluding them could be a good thing and could lead to intentional clicks, visibility. You might then take some market share, you know, and ultimately that might then lead to more sales, more leads, whatever, right? So in that scenario, that is a good halfway house. And often, depending on the business, that is where we as Evergreen tend to find ourselves, is we say, we're not going to proactively bid on them because we don't want to bid, because that does make a lot of sense. But equally, we don't want to necessarily exclude all of them. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we'll have a negative keyword list for competitors' brands and we will exclude everyone and say, no, the intent is wrong, we don't want it. Sure. But in that scenario, just to give you one example so everyone watching can sort of go, oh yeah, I get what he's saying. In that scenario, you might go, but if someone's looking, I don't mind. Right. Does that make sense? You with me so far?
Is this why, like, fast food places are usually all really close to one another? Because I've heard that usually, like, you'll get a McDonald's next to a KFC. Right. Because if you're going to McDonald's, but then you see KFC, you might be tempted. Yeah. And that's sort of a similar thing.
I think there's a potential. Yeah, I think it's that sort of thing. Is, you know, if people are actively searching and looking, I think it's got kind of along those sort of lines. And I just think from an online, so you can, as a small business, you know, most of our brands we work with are small businesses. You know, so there is an opportunity to piggyback on top of the nationals if there is search and so on. And that's, you know, one example. There's lots of other examples I could give, but that's one where I think hopefully it's sort of, people go, oh, I get that. Sure. Now, the cons. Right. So, and this is where, so if you proactively go out there and you can say, I can look in my search terms report and I can see that there are searches for my competitors, and I am going to proactively go out and bid on them. There are some cons. Okay. I've seen them. I've experienced them. So there are some things. So one of the things that you can, and sometimes I work with clients and they go, it's part of our, you know, there's an element of if you do this, you could almost call it like guerrilla marketing. There's an element of this is quite aggressive, and you're going out there, and it's because you're proactively going. And I've seen some really creative ways that this has been done over the years, and I'm going to share them with you. So the big thing is, there's a couple of key things. One, if you proactively go and bid on your competitors, you are going to pay a premium for those clicks. Because Google knows that that's not your brand. So this is my brand, is my brand, and if I am going out there saying I want to bid on Joe Bloggs' brand, Google's going to charge you a premium. Whereas for our own brand, we get the benefit of the clicks will cost pennies. Very, very little. If we go out and proactively say we want to bid on so-and-so's brand, as there are many, many scenarios where that can be a really, I wouldn't say good, but a move very common that people will do, you will pay a premium for those clicks. The other big thing that you will potentially, which is a con which you potentially risk happening, is you're going to ruffle some feathers. Yeah. Because if you're proactively going out there and bidding on your competitors, it's not going to be too long before they probably find out. Right. And they're going to go, hang on. And I've seen all sorts of scenarios where what can happen is, ultimately what often tends to happen, these are sort of small businesses, is they'll get in touch, one business will get in touch with the other and say, hey, we've seen you bidding on our, can you just stop doing that, please? How would they know? Because they'll probably search it. Because if you're running Google Ads, you will see, if you're running, whether you're doing it or an agency doing it, you would know if your competitors are proactively bidding. Because frankly, you've just got to do a search for your own brand. And if someone comes up, different if it's a product or a service search, but if it's, bless you. Thank you. But if it's specifically for your competitors, you would see it in the search results, right? Now, so what will often happen in those scenarios is the one business owner might phone there and say, hey, we see you're bidding on our brand name, can you stop doing that? And often what you can do is you can say, look, if you don't stop doing it, we're going to bid on your brand name. And ultimately all that's going to happen is we end up bidding on each other's, and we both lose because we're spending money when the intent's not right. And therefore the only person that wins is Google because they're getting more money. We're collectively driving the price up.
An eye for an eye and the world goes blind.
There you go, right? Yeah.
Before we go any further, if you're enjoying today's Tea Talk, you'll love our Grow with Evergreen podcast. Specifically created for home, garden, and lifestyle brands, it's a podcast dedicated to discussing paid media and marketing. Every episode, we're joined by a brand that wants to grow online. We delve into their business, dissect what they're doing, and define a digital growth strategy they can take and deploy into their business. And best of all, you get to listen or watch along, then take those learnings into your own business. Make sure you check it out on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. But for now, let's get back to today's Tea Talk.
So, in that, and I've seen that where they kind of go, oh yeah, we'll stop, and they just walk away. I've seen others where they go, oh, it was completely unintentional. I didn't even realise we were bidding you, and yet we'll now exclude you. We'll add you as a negative, your brand as a negative term. Everyone walks away. Everyone's happy. I've seen those scenarios. Okay. I've also seen this issue on the other foot where one brand will turn around to the other and say, I don't care. Do what you like. And so then we've not ever had it, but I've seen scenarios where businesses can send a cease and desist, which is essentially a legal letter that says stop bidding on it, and it can get a little bit, a bit thing. We've never had that, thank God, but it can get a little bit like that. Now, you potentially run, and this is particularly true if you are bidding on local competitors. So for example, if you are, let's refer back to my kitchen and bathroom business, right? If you're a kitchen and bathroom business and you can see that someone 5 miles down the road, 10 miles down the road is another competitor, and maybe they've been going longer than you have and have more brand visibility. Well, if you proactively bid on that brand, it's not going to be too long before they find out. Sure. It's going to ruffle some feathers, right? And you're going to end up breaking down a relationship and so on and so forth. And that's just not good business practice because you're going to end up, coming to blows. And so our stance has always been on that. You just don't bid on local competitors. That's just not a good move, right? Even if they are way more visible than you, we just go. We don't want to do that because that's just not a good thing to do. Now, when it's, as I said at the start, when it's more national competitors, they're never going to know or care, to be honest. So in that scenario, there are scenarios where we won't proactively bid on them, but we will kind of go, well, we won't exclude them, and we'll just see if we're going to gain a few extra clicks here and there. It's not going to be masses, but it will be a few bits where they're searching for the nationals because they don't know you exist. So in those scenarios, it can be good, yeah?
Does the bid price go up the bigger the company?
not necessarily based on the size of the company, but it's an auction, it's an online auction. Okay. So the more people bidding for a term, whatever that term will be, that will dictate the price. So it will depend, it's an online auction, so it will depend entirely on how competitive a brand is, or a search term is, or a product search term is, or whatever.
Sure.
So yeah, it's forever fluctuating, it's forever changing. Now, I'll give you a couple of sort of stories, not things we've done, but things I've seen out there in the wild. I've been doing this a long time. So give you a couple of scenarios where it's worked, and so if you are a brand, forget now the kitchen thing, put that to one side. Sure. If you're a small brand, I'll give you a couple of scenarios where this has worked really well, and it's borderline sort of guerrilla marketing. So, if you're a small brand and you're entering, you're entering the arena and you're going up against some much bigger competitors, and you are the David versus Goliath, and you can go out and you go, blimey, so and so is massive in our space, and we're just getting started. We're the new kid on the block. There is a strategy to be said for proactively bidding on your competitors, but then using the ad copy to highlight and spotlight that, to almost address, say, we know you're searching for so-and-so, but this is why you need to come to us. This is why we're better. This is why we're different. And in those scenarios, and there's loads of examples of well-known, established, national, multinational brands that have done this, that have said, oh, you're looking for this service by this company, we can see that, but actually, why don't you consider working with us instead, because we do this? Or we can see you're looking for this company and their product, but actually, have you considered our product? Because actually it's better, and here's this and here's that. And so that way is getting more creative. And again, I've seen that from afar and been able to go, that's quite clever and stuff like that.
Is that a bit like how, you know the cereal brand Surreal?
Right.
So they always do these billboards where they'll reference other cereals.
Yes.
But in a legally okay way.
Yes.
So they'll do like Frosted Flakes, and they'll say like Tony loves it.
Yes.
And then it'll say Tony's our mate from down the road.
Exactly that. That is the same sort of idea, different execution, but say exactly that sort of idea. And on a sort of a national basis or an international basis, that can work amazingly well. And you can be creative because there's enough search volume to warrant you doing that, because you go, well, there's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people searching for this. If we can gobble up a little bit of market share, we get our brand in front of that, and doing that will probably be cheaper than bidding on the product or the service term in isolation. Sure. So there's lots of sort of scenarios, but as a general rule of thumb, just to sort of wrap this up, I think, our stance generally, having done this for many, many years, is we don't actively bid on competitors. We don't, right? Because, from a local business perspective, that just, frankly, one, we don't want to ruffle feathers, and two, there isn't generally enough search for local competitors to warrant that there is, let's make that focus, because there just isn't enough search. Therefore, it's we've got bigger fish to fry. So you've got that. When it comes to local businesses versus the nationals, of which most people watching this, if you run a small business, most of our audience are home garden lifestyle brands. Yep. They are going to have national competitors, big. Some of them are going to have your Amazons popping up, and your eBays popping up, and your this and your that, and all of these huge organisations. Absolutely, categorically, do not ever bid on eBay or Amazon or these because that just makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. But what you can do, and maybe eBay and Amazon is not probably the best example, but if there are big nationals where you wouldn't bid on them, but you don't necessarily need to exclude them because you've identified that people search when they're looking for your product, your service. Some people will include the brand, and if you want to say, I expect you're going to be searching for that brand because that's where you assume you can find the product or service, but actually, we also do that product service here.
B&Q or something.
Yeah, B&Q is a good example. Yeah. You wouldn't bid on B&Q, but there's not a single client that we've got where we're actively saying we're going to bid on B&Q terms or home-based terms or Wix terms. There's not a single client. But most of our clients, a good number of them, where appropriate, we won't be actively excluding them because we say, well, our client also does that and they're in the local area. So if they are in the local area and they are searching for that product or service, they probably just don't know that our client exists, and therefore there's an education piece to say, hey, we do that as well. Oh, and we're local, and we're a local business, etc., etc. So in that scenario, it can really work. Something useful. So giving you a little bit, you learned something new today.
I've learned a lot about these guerrilla tactics.
There you go. See, guerrilla marketing. It's a whole thing, and that's the tip of the iceberg. But so when it comes to bidding on competitors, I think caution is probably the best way to approach it. Yeah. Caution and common sense. As with so much we do. Caution and common sense. And it's going to be a case-by-case basis. But yeah, that sentiment of what I've covered there is basically what I just told the client. And so he's going to walk away and now not go, and he's not going to be actively bidding on them. He won't let him because we run his account. I've said no chance.
Well, yeah.
So there's that. But also what we're not going to do is, for now, we're not going to exclude those nationals because we want to just get a few extra clicks and we'll see if they convert. We'll see how they engaged.
Yeah,
we'll take it. What were you going to say? Sorry.
I was going to say, and one of my favourite new phrases we've come up with, get creative.
Get creative, exactly. As with so much in life, get creative. I think that can, it can work. So there you go. Hope it's been useful, giving you a little insight into what we do and how we do it when it comes to that age-old question of bidding on competitors. Because I know there'll be some of you that are watching that have thought that. Maybe you've decided to do it, maybe you've decided to avoid it. And hopefully this T Talk is giving you a little perspective on what an agency does for the many, many clients that we work with in the home garden lifestyle space. Hope it's been useful. If you haven't already, I'm going to give my little tea break a plug. Haven't done that for a while. So if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Tea Break. We have our tea here. So when you have your tea or your chai latte, you can sit on a Thursday at 11 a.m. I send a weekly update with personal insights and paid media ideas. It's a little sort of synopsis of what's top of mind for me in that week, what we're working on, what we're doing, and then there's a roundup of some paid media ideas, which is mostly our content. It's the latest T Talk. It's the latest podcast, the latest Uncut.
All the good stuff.
All the best bits for your week rounded up. And actually, we should say, as we're recording this, we have just passed, did you know, 40 T Talks.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We have.
And 400 subscribers.
We're going viral. We're going viral. You heard it here first.
It wasn't long ago. We said we just passed 300.
Yeah,
so I would actually say we're on a roll.
We're getting like
on the climb,
aren't we? We're getting one or two new subscribers a day, which is amazing. But as you said, the vast majority of people that are watching our content, you told me this,
it's like 98%
are not subscribers, which is
not subscribed.
Bonkers.
What are you doing? You're watching this right now and you're not subscribed.
Yeah, exactly that. What are you doing? Make sure you hit that subscribe button. There you go. There's a call to action if ever there was one. And Darren and I will see you on the next one. Take care.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, well, on the left side of the screen, you'll find a video that YouTube has hand-picked just for you. On the right, you'll find our latest video hot off the press. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, and hit that notification button.